What would it take to make you stay silent, even when freedom was standing right in front of you? A phone hanging on the wall, neighbors living just feet away, your own family sitting directly across from you at the dinner table. This is the story of a young woman who had countless opportunities to escape, and didn't. Not because she was physically chained to a wall, but because the most powerful prison ever built was constructed entirely inside her own mind. This is the harrowing, psychologically unbelievable case of Colleen Stan. It was a warm spring afternoon on May 19, 1977, when 20-year-old Colleen Stan stood on the side of a California highway. She was hitchhiking from her home in Eugene, Oregon, headed down to Northern California to celebrate a friend's birthday. Colleen was experienced and cautious, not the kind of person to just jump into any stranger's car. So, when a clean-cut, ordinary-looking couple pulled over in a blue Dodge van, Colleen hesitated. But then she looked inside. She saw a young woman, a smiling man, and a real, crying baby in the back seat. To Colleen, they looked like a wholesome, safe family. She stepped into the van. She had no way of knowing that it would be 7 years before she would live a normal life again. The couple introduced themselves as Cameron and Janice Hooker. For the first part of the ride, the conversation was perfectly normal. But not long into the journey, Cameron suddenly pulled off the highway into an isolated, wooded area near Red Bluff, California. Away from any witnesses, the wholesome family facade completely evaporated. Cameron produced a knife, spinning around to threaten Colleen, while his wife, Janice, sat in compliant silence. Then, Cameron produced something Colleen had never seen before: a heavy, custom-built wooden box designed to fit tightly over a person's head. It was lined with sound-muffling material. Once locked onto her shoulders, it blocked out all light and muffled all sound, leaving her only enough oxygen to barely breathe. From that terrifying moment on, Colleen's nightmare began. For the next 7 years, Colleen Stan was kept as a captive inside the Hookers' mobile home in Red Bluff. Much of her existence was reduced to a horrific, claustrophobic prison. Cameron Hooker had built a wooden box, resembling a coffin, and placed it directly beneath his marital bed. For up to 23 hours a day, Colleen was locked inside this box, unable to stretch out, with almost no fresh air, left in absolute pitch-black silence. When she was let out, she was subjected to ongoing physical abuse, torture, and forced labor at the hands of her captor. But the physical confinement was only part of the horror. Cameron Hooker was a master of psychological warfare. To ensure she would never try to run away when left unattended, Cameron constructed an elaborate psychological trap. He told Colleen that he belonged to a powerful, shadowy, nationwide organization known simply as the Company. He claimed the Company was constantly monitoring her every move, tracking her phone lines and watching her family. Cameron warned her that if she ever tried to escape, or if she whispered a word of what was happening to a stranger, the Company would instantly torture and kill her parents and siblings. To cement this psychological bondage, he forced her to sign a formal, written document that he called a lifelong slavery contract. And trapped in total isolation, completely dependent on her captor for survival, Colleen believed every single word. This is the part of the case that people struggle most to comprehend. As the years went on, Cameron Hooker began to loosen Colleen's physical chains. He allowed her outside to go jogging through the neighborhood. She tended to the front garden. She looked after the Hooker's children. Eventually, Cameron even allowed her to take a regular day job as a housekeeper at a nearby hotel. She was surrounded by everyday people, had access to telephones, and interacted with strangers daily. She never called for help. Not once. In 1981, Cameron took his control to the ultimate level. He allowed Colleen to travel across state lines to visit her real family, who had been mourning her and fearing the worst for 4 years. On at least one occasion, she was allowed to sit with her parents completely alone. She sat in the living room with the people who loved her most in the world, hugged them, smiled, and said absolutely nothing about her captivity. To an outsider, this behavior defies logic. But this wasn't weakness or stupidity. What Colleen was experiencing is a profound, severe form of trauma bonding and coercive control that fundamentally reshapes a victim's reality. The fear Cameron planted was absolute. In Colleen's mind, her compliance and her silence were the only things keeping her mother and father alive. Her prison wasn't the wooden box anymore. It was the invisible walls built inside her mind. The situation finally broke open in July 1984. It didn't happen because of a brilliant police investigation or a daring escape, but because the domestic dynamic inside the Hooker household reached a breaking point. Cameron Hooker announced to his wife, Janice, that he intended to legally take Colleen as a second, official wife. For Janice, who had been an accomplice and victim of Cameron's manipulation for years, this was the final straw. Fearful of losing her children and her status, Janice's compliance shattered. While Cameron was away at his job as a lumber mill worker, Janice sat down with Colleen. For the first time in 7 years, Janice told her the absolute truth. The company didn't exist. The lifelong contract meant nothing. Every threat against her family was a lie invented by Cameron to keep her paralyzed. The moment Colleen heard those words, the psychological shackles snapped. Colleen stood up, walked out of the house, and ran until she found a local payphone. But her first call wasn't to the police, and it wasn't to her family. Her mind was still processing the shock. Instead, she called Cameron at his workplace, told him she was leaving, and hung up. Janice helped her get to a local bus station, and Colleen caught the next bus straight back home to her family in Oregon. Even after returning to the safety of her family home, the psychological grip of 7 years in darkness didn't instantly release. Colleen actually kept in brief contact with Cameron for a few weeks, later explaining that she was trying to process her experience and giving him a chance to confess on his own, partly out of a strange sense of empathy for Janice. Ultimately, it was Janice Hooker who went to the authorities. In November 1984, 3 months after Colleen left, Janice walked into a police station and confessed everything. In her statement, she revealed an even more chilling secret. She claimed that before abducting Colleen, Cameron had kidnapped and murdered another young woman, Marie Elizabeth Spanhake, in 1976. Janice Hooker was granted full state immunity in exchange for her testimony against her husband. In 1985, Cameron Hooker stood trial. Colleen Stan took the witness stand, courageously facing her monster and detailing the 7 years she spent locked in the box beneath his bed. The jury found Cameron Hooker guilty on multiple counts of kidnapping and sexual assault. He was sentenced to 104 years in state prison. Colleen Stan's story did not end in that dark courtroom. She returned to Oregon, underwent years of intensive trauma therapy, and began the grueling process of rebuilding her life piece by piece. Defying the trauma meant to break her, Colleen went to college, earned a university degree, got married, and became a mother. She channeled her lived experience into powerful advocacy work, writing a book and working with support groups to help other survivors of extreme abuse and human trafficking. Both Colleen and Janice Hooker eventually changed their names to disappear from the public eye, quietly building separate lives in California. They have never had contact with each other since the trial. The case of Colleen Stan fundamentally changed the way psychologists, criminologists, and law enforcement understand captivity and coercive control. It is a story that aggressively challenges our natural, societal instinct to ask the flawed question, why didn't she just leave? Because the answer is far more complex and far more human than that question allows for. The most dangerous prisons on Earth aren't always made of iron bars and stone walls. Sometimes, they are built out of engineered fear, psychological manipulation, and the desperate, protective love a person has for their family. Colleen Stan didn't just survive. She healed. Her life stands as a historic testament to the unbelievable resilience of the human spirit, and a stark reminder of the invisible chains that can keep a person trapped in the light. If Colleen's incredible bravery and journey to freedom moved you today, please take a moment to hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our weekly deep dives into the most complex corners of true crime history. Until next time, keep your eyes open, stay safe, and look out for one another.